You are listening to the Slow Living Podcast, and I'm your host, Stephanie O'Day. What if I told you that you could truly have the life of your dreams, the life you've always wanted, one filled with abundance, joy, and a sense of purpose? It's absolutely possible, and I see it each and every day with my coaching clients. It all starts with learning how to slow down. You deserve to live the life you've always dreamt about. Let's get started. Hi there, Slow Down Society. Steph here, and welcome to episode number 123 of the Slow Living Podcast. I am thrilled that I am here with Andrea. Andrea is a long-time reader of the emails and cookbooks and website and listener of the podcast, and she reached out to me because she wants to share her slow living story with us. And I was so happy that she was brave enough to reach out and share. So Andrea, thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. It's such a pleasure to be with you.
So tell us who you are and what made you feel like, okay, this is it. This is my first time I am going to be interviewed. And I want to tell Steph and the Slow Living Society what I'm all about.
Well, I am just so grateful to be here. I have always been a very kind of free spirit. And I have been, first I'll tell you, I was born premature. I was born at 26 weeks. And I lost my vision due to retinopathy of prematurity, which is a retinal condition where your retina is detached from the optic nerve. So at 6 months, my mom found out that I was blind, and that I most likely would be for the rest of my life unless, either God intervened or there were medical advancements that would provide some assistance. So I have always been a very daredevilish kind of girl, always been very adventurous, free spirit. I've just lived life. I've always tried to live life to the fullest. And so I just I thought maybe some of your listeners would be interested in, my story. I'm not super out there yet as far as exposure goes, but I've always loved music, and I've always been into writing music and singing. I grew up singing. And I took that to the next level in my early 20s and started writing songs. And so I've also traveled a little bit around the world and just, by myself as kind of an adventurous spirit. So I felt that your listeners might enjoy some of that story as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I have two songs that you sent to me. One is called Time of Need, and one is Home. And the lyrics of these songs are just breathtaking, and your voice is phenomenal. And we're going to share some clips of your music. I'll have Taylor, my podcast guru, splice those in. But so was so thankful that you reached out to me because you are living an amazing life, and you were born prematurely and with this disability, yet you don't know any other way to live, and you have found a way to thrive with what many people would deem a pretty significant hardship.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. It has been challenging. I will say being blind comes with its challenges. But I also, I've learned throughout my life. I went to a wonderful training center in Louisiana where I learned a lot of great life skills for folks who are either losing their vision, have lost their vision, or maybe, have been given a diagnosis that they will eventually lose their vision. And it's a place where individuals can go, adults and youth can go to learn skills, life skills, independent living skills, cooking, traveling. We even took a woodshop course, which was You know, I'm not the best at, I will admit, but it was really great. And so I really gained a lot of confidence from that experience. That was after high school. But yeah, I mean, I will say I have my challenges, but I am a very spiritual person
Hmm.
of faith. And I believe that, if one puts one's mind to it, you can overcome. And I don't feel self-pity. I don't feel sorry for myself. I feel grateful that I even have a life to live and enjoy. So I just try to enjoy it to the fullest.
I love that. So when you first wrote to me, you
Yes,
wrote that you wanted to share how you use positivity and
yes,
faith and hope and love
yes,
to live a life that is fulfilling.
absolutely. That is
Yeah.
that is the truth. Yes.
So what's wonderful is as you know that I coach women and a lot of times people come to me because they feel disorganized and they want help
Yes.
creating systems. And
Yes.
before we hit record, Andrea said, hang on a second, I'm going to pop out my Bluetooth headphones and get my
Right.
wired headphones. And so she
Yes.
walked away. But obviously you know
I
how to
did
find things.
return. I did
You
return with the right
no,
headphones.
but
Yes.
but but you most definitely are walking, talking testament to
Yeah,
having systems and having strategies to find
absolutely.
things. And so you must
Yeah.
be phenomenally organized.
If you ask any of my friends, they will tell you that I am super organized for being someone who can't see. I think a lot of people assume that being blind, I must be organized. But if you walked into my bedroom, you might see piles of stuff everywhere. So I think there's this organized clutter that is a thing still. It's certainly a
Yes.
thing in my
So,
life. But I do know where things are. So I do have kind of
okay.
a system of
Oh,
organization
okay.
for
So I
sure.
think that's the part that I want to highlight and circle is you know where
For
things
sure.
are. I mean,
Yes.
you walked away and were gone
Mhm.
for less than 30 seconds and came back with your wired headphones. You knew exactly where they
Absolutely.
were.
And I had to go up like 14 stairs and come
Oh,
back down
well, there you
as
go.
well. So there you go.
No, I
Definitely.
think you get all the gold stars in the world. That's pretty amazing.
Oh, thanks. Gee.
No, I love it.
That's
So
awesome.
talk to me about growing up blind and what your schooling was like.
Wow. So growing up blind, schooling was very interesting. So I grew up, I didn't attend a particularly, a school for the blind per se. I was in the public school system and public education. I was considered special education up until, well, most likely throughout my whole secondary career, but I was included with the rest of my peers in beginning in high school, like, or let's say eighth grade to ninth grade, I started going to mainstream classes with everyone else. But prior to that, I had a wonderful vision teacher,
Mm,
and she was so instrumental in. She was with me throughout my whole career, my whole secondary career as a student. So she was with me from the moment I began pre-K or kindergarten up until I graduated high school as an undergrad. I graduated top 10 of my class in 2007. And I graduated from Cairo High School, Go Syrup Makers, um, in Georgia, in Cairo, Georgia, in a little small southern town in southern Georgia. And I was taught Braille from a very early age. From the time when most students start learning to read print, I was
hmm.
taught to read Braille,
Okay.
which I'm not sure if you know what Braille is, but I always tell people it's kind of your print is my Braille is your print.
Hmm.
Um, but it's a medium of dots. It was created by a guy named Louis Braille in France. I think it was in the 1700s or 1800s. I don't have my facts straight on that, but
That's
however,
okay. We're not
he
going to fact
created
check you.
that. He created this system of dots, and it's almost like a code. So it's like you have certain dots. There's 6 dots in a sail, And there's a certain set of dots, that configuration of dots that create letters. And those letters in turn create words. But then you also have contracted Braille, which is like shorthand,
Mm-hmm.
that where you could put the word the letter C together with the letter D, and it means could. Or you
Mm.
can put the letter
Oh, so it is.
D,
It's
the G,
shorthand.
D.
Oh,
So it's
that's
like a shorthand,
fun.
right?
Okay.
But it's also very I used to read hard copies of books. So when I would get books from the state and read in school, they would be these huge volumes with like wooden, like cardboard covers. So they looked massive, and they were massive. But it was amazing because I would take these volumes to classes with me when I would go and drop into classes during my special ed time in elementary school and middle school. And I would read with the other students. And in high school, it just sort of became the norm that I was involved in the classroom with everyone else, and I would participate alongside my peers.
Mm-hmm.
I had a very strong work ethic from a very early age. My vision teacher was very instrumental in pushing me to succeed. I mean, she would say, when you go to college, no one's going to do this for you. No one's going to help you with this. No one's going to help you with that. Like
Mm-hmm.
you have to take ownership of your own
Mm-hmm.
um, curriculum. I mean, your own education, and work with that.
Yeah.
And you have to find ways to get around the
Yeah.
challenges. And so that's what I did. And I would stay after school often 2 or 3 hours during the week and work on math. And I would use wiki sticks to, if you guys have ever seen wiki sticks, but they're like little rubber sticks that you
Yeah, they kind
place
of
and
stick together a little
stick
bit.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
We
we
still
would use
use those
those.
in an elementary school.
That's
Absolutely. In the
that's
math
so
program.
cool.
Yeah.
And we would use those she would help me. I would take I think it was trig or Euclidean geometry. And we would use those wiki sticks to make coordinates and make angles and make shapes. And those were so useful. So that's why I got A's and B's in those classes. I'm so grateful for those modifications. So yes, there were definitely systems in place during my public education, during my secondary career as a
Mm-hmm.
student. So it was wonderful. And I did read a lot. I was an avid reader.
Mm-hmm.
I read everything I could get my hands on, pun
Yeah.
intended, as well as, I would listen to quite a lot of audiobooks.
Mm-hmm.
And back when they had tapes, if you guys know what those are, with cassette tapes. Yeah. This. So, and it was really great. I really just learned a lot. I was just such a sponge, and I loved absorbing knowledge and learning. And it was wonderful.
Do you growing up, did you ever feel wistful or sad in that other children were doing things that you thought you couldn't, or like you have such an upbeat personality now. Was it always this way?
I have always been a very positive person. I've always been a very optimistic individual, and I've always had, like I said, I've always leaned on my faith. I've always believed that God had me here for a reason, that I was
Mm-hmm.
here for a reason to make Him look awesome, and also to show the world that that I could be what what I was meant to be in this life. And one of the things that troubled me as a child, I do say, I mean, I did come from a very broken home.
Mm.
I had a broken family. But I will say at the same time, my family, I had wonderful grandparents who loved me so much. And my mother, even though she wasn't around all the time, she was a nurse. And unfortunately, she had some issues with addiction.
Mm.
And while she would go away, I would be with my grandparents on my mom's side, my granny and my grandpa. And we loved music, and we loved singing and going to church and listening to music and singing gospel songs. And I would go to different events, and I would perform at the Rotary, or I would perform at Relay for Life, or
Mm-hmm.
benefits and concerts and things of that nature. So I always had a really strong optimism and a really
Hmm.
strong desire to live and to be something or to make something of my life. And then
Hmm.
I would read these books like, The Great Gatsby or, War and Peace or Great Expectations or, I would read all these books and I would say, wow, I grew up, my family was very modest. We came from modest means. But we loved each other deeply and we still do love each other deeply. And my parents are no longer living, nor are my grandparents that raised me. But I've lost a lot in 35 years.
Hmm.
I've lost a lot of family, a lot of close, you know, family members, but I've also gained a lot because I've learned how to kind of come out of that resilient,
Hmm.
come out of that loss in a resiliency. Um, so I would say to answer your question, kind of went off on a tangent there, but to
No, you're
answer your
perfect.
question, I did experience a lot of loneliness growing up because I did feel a bit isolated from my peers to a
Hmm.
degree because sometimes children can be cruel. Sometimes, the way the beliefs, like even though I might be a positive person at heart, and I might be a loving person at heart, others, sometimes people can only see what's external.
Yeah.
And so I think that, children at that age, when I was 10, 11, 12, there were a lot of challenges with, feeling like I didn't belong
Hmm.
because other kids were going off and, hanging out. And I had this one great friend, and we're not as close today as we used to be, but she's still someone that I can call. And we recall like the times when we were younger and how we had such a close friendship because like she was the only person that I would hang out with. Um, and I actually during my high school years I hung out with my friend, a friend named Joanna, who's wonderful. And she has disabilities herself. She has several different disabilities and special needs, but she was a wonderful person. She is a wonderful person to this day. And a lot of people didn't want to hang out with us because we were different.
Yeah.
And she has a speech impediment, and so a lot of people were kind of like shied away from us. But I would go hang out with her all the time because I would feel like, you know what, she has a friend, and I know what it's like to not have a friend. So I
Yeah.
want to be a friend to her. And so I think I just kind of took all the bad and tried to make something good out of it.
That's lovely. That's lovely.
Yeah.
I'm glad you have each other. And
Yes.
I'm glad that you persevered because I know
Yes.
many can kind of spiral and get into that kind of darkish place. So I'm glad that you were able to
Sure.
move out of that. When it comes right down to it, we all just want to climb into bed each night feeling calm, content, and at peace. We want to know that we were able to keep all the balls in the air and were productive without neglecting our own needs and wants. I know, I get it. That is why I recorded a free masterclass on the 10 things happy, successful people do each and every day, and I'd love for you to join us. Learn simple and practical tips to reclaim the sanity and joy in your home and family at stephanieodea.com/masterclass. Tell me a little bit about your travels. I know you've done quite a lot.
Yes. So I actually, when I graduated high school, I went to college in at Valdosta State University in Georgia, and I graduated cum laude
Wow.
in 2012, in December 2012, with my bachelor's of Spanish with a focus in language and culture. And I had some wonderful professors at Valdosta State, wonderful professors, and they were very instrumental in teaching me and helping me grow and seeing where I was weak and helping me, advance in the language and helping me kind of develop those finer points of the language. So I'm so grateful for their encouragement and their teaching. Um, I had a teacher, a professor named Dr. Friedrich, and she sent me a link to an internship in Spain through the Education Council of Spain in 2013, right after I graduated college. And she said, "Oh, you might love to do this." And it was to be an what they call an auxiliar de conversación, which is
Wow.
a Spanish. It's a conversation aid in Spanish. What
Okay.
that means. And so I got the opportunity, the wonderful opportunity to go abroad to Spain in October of 2013, and I lived in Spain from October of 2013 until June of 2014 in the province of Cáceres in the region of Extremadura, Spain. And it's in the western, I believe the western, I'm not good with my geography. You guys can help me out with that. But it's in the western region of Spain, and it's a beautiful area. There are olive orchards, and you can in the village where I resided, um, people told me you could see the snow-capped mountains from where we
Mm,
were. I lived very close to the El Monasterio de Guadalupe, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site in
okay.
Spain. So if you Google Earth it, you might be able to actually see the town where I lived.
Okay.
And it was a wonderful experience. I got to teach English to children and be a conversation assistant to help others, to help the students in the class, in the school there, the local colegio. It was called Colegio de los Católicos. And it was an elementary school. And I was able to assist the professors teaching English by having conversations with the students. And it was a part-time position. And so I would go into the school 3 days a week, walk to the school from my little one-bedroom apartment that I had in the town. And I would walk and teach English to the students. And some days there would be because their classes are different from ours, their curriculum's different than ours. So they would, one day their class might be art and the art class would be in English, or one day the English class might be in science, or it might be in music, or, um, you know, it might be like history.
Hmm.
So based on the class, I would talk about whatever topic came up. So a lot of times we would talk about sports. We would talk about holidays that are famous, our national holidays that we celebrate here, and how maybe we might celebrate differently than other cultures. We would talk about different artists. We would talk about just quite a range of different themes. And the kids were so lovely. I mean, they are just the most beautiful children in Spain.
Hmm.
And so I lived in Spain for 8 months. And while I was there, on a whim, I decided, well, I'm just going to make my own itinerary and I'm going to go to London for 5 days. And I had
Hmm.
saved up some money. So I went to London, and the lady I called to set up the bed and breakfast, the rooming house, and she said, "Oh, my dear, are you okay with stairs? Is this going to be a problem?" I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is no, not at all. This will be fine." And I think I blew her mind, because when I got there, I use a cane for mobility. So I
Okay.
use one of these long white canes that doesn't fold, so it gets on people's nerves, but it's okay. And so I go on planes, and they're like, "Can we take that?" And I'm like, "No, I'll just slide it over here by the window if they'll allow me, or
Okay.
just put it in the little nook and cranny there." But so I went to London for 5 days. I walked around the city. I took the tube, as they call it there, the subway, the tube, to different parts of the city, and I was able to visit some of the sites there. The London Museum, the Museum of Packaging and Advertising, which was
Mm.
interesting because for being a blind person, it's a very visual visual experience,
Okay.
because it was all the ads from like the 1800s all the way up into present. And so
Yeah.
how different products have changed and how the ads have changed over time. And I went to the Weiner Holocaust Library, which was
So
quite an
when
experience.
when you go to a museum or something that for someone able-bodied would consider
Yes.
visual. How is
Mhm.
it for you? Do you get an audio tour, or how do you navigate
Yeah.
through the museums?
So in Europe, it's very common to have audio tours. It's
Okay.
very common to just be able to get a headset and listen to, or take the phone around, and it's like a portable phone,
Hmm.
and you can listen to the audio tour, and you could have someone guide you around. Like I had someone guide me around the exhibits,
Okay.
but there's also when I went to the packaging museum, the advertising and packaging museum, I had a guide. I didn't have a an audio tour, so I had someone walk around and just explain
Hmm.
certain visuals to me. And when I was at the Wonder Library, we were in a room with several tourists, and they did explain a lot of things to us. So we had someone that was an initial guide for everyone. So I
Hmm.
just followed along
Hmm.
behind someone else. And sometimes I would say, "Oh, can I take your arm?" And I'll just go behind you.
Hmm.
And usually people didn't have a problem. Or I would ask a guide from the museum to walk around with me, which was perfect. I did go to the when I was in Toulouse. I want to tell you this experience that was really quite amazing. I went to Toulouse for a weekend, Toulouse, France, in following my London trip,
Okay.
and I was so amazed because when I got off the plane, my friend Veronique met me at the airport, and she's like in her 60s, probably 70s now, bless her. And she spoke a little bit of English, a smattering of English, and spoke a smattering of French. So we got along just fine.
Hmm.
I kind of blubbered my way through the weekend, and I did try to speak French as much as I could, because I had to take 2 years of French in college. So I was pretty conversational
Hmm.
in French, but
Hmm.
there again, it's my third language, so I was a little weird. But we got off the plane, we went to have a chocolat, which is a hot chocolate in France, and we had a chocolat, and then we walked around this park, and it was so amazing to me because the park, there were trees, there were different plants that you would walk past, and there were plaques that would explain the origins of the tree or the origins of the flower or the plant. But then it was also, there was also a plaque in Braille. So
Mm.
alongside the the visual, the print sign, there was a Braille plaque. And
Hmm.
everything, it was written in French Braille, which I could read a bit of. I wasn't the best at it, but I could read fairly well at the time. Um, and I could read, where the tree came from, and who brought it there, who brought it to France, and who contributed to planting it, and why it was planted there. And it was just so amazing to be able to have these experiences. I tried roast duck for the first time at Veronique's home, and it was amazing. And then we walked around the square, and she told me some of the history of the town, and it was just lovely. We went to a supermarket together. Um, so it was just wonderful to be able to experience that culture with someone who was local and native to the culture, but someone who also had an apartment in the historic district. So we could walk around and experience that together. So it was such a great experience, and living abroad was always a dream for me. So Spain
Yeah.
was wonderful. It was great, and then I also taught some of the kids when I was in Spain how I got around, because they wanted to know. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of them were so amazed. They were like, "You came here by yourself? Like, how did you get over here?"
Okay.
I
Well, I know
flew.
that you were affiliated with AmeriCorps for a
I
while.
was.
When was
I was an
that?
AmeriCorps member. I was an AmeriCorps member following my trip to Spain. So after I
Okay.
came back from Spain, I did do AmeriCorps for a while. I did 3 terms. I'm an AmeriCorps Vista
Okay.
alumni, but I'm also an AmeriCorps member. So I volunteered in service to America for a year here in Tallahassee, where I currently live in Florida. I worked as uh, I would say a marketer for college access and success modeling models to universities and presidents of universities and colleges throughout the state of Florida. So I would contact the presidents of the universities or the academic access and success division, and I would say, here's a model that we've had demonstrated. Would you be interested in looking at it as part of your college access and success mentorship modeling? And so I would try to propose that they incorporate those models into their curriculum or into their university in some way, to their programming in some way. So it was really interesting. I was also after following that experience, following the year of working as a mentorship marketer, I also worked for 3 months as a personal care and camp counselor for Easter Seals, Wisconsin. This was my second term. I was able to provide personal care as well as music programming for the camp. During the summer of 2016, it was 3 months long, and we had a variety of age ranges. So we would have young children up to, youth, as well as adults with special needs or disabilities, intellectual disabilities or developmental disabilities. They would come to the camp and they would experience the camper life for a week at a time. And so I worked 6 days a week as a program counselor, as well as a music programming specialist with Camp Wildbeak and Easter Seals, Wisconsin as my second AmeriCorps term. And then I followed that up with an AmeriCorps stint for my third term as a victims advocate for domestic violence survivors in the Manchester, New Hampshire District Court. So I worked alongside the domestic violence prosecutor's office to provide victims advocacy, as well as, accompanying victims to court, accompanying survivors to court, and helping them kind of work through their concerns related to the legal process. So it was very useful in my development of the language, as well as my development of legal understanding of how the court works and how the process works for survivors. We had to go through an advocacy training at the beginning of that year. So it was very useful and very enlightening. And I actually got to do a couple of detective interviews with the local Manchester Police Department, with some of the victims who came in who were experiencing domestic violence. So I was able to provide some Spanish interpreting for some of those individuals, which was super helpful. It was also very informative because I got to see kind of on the ground how it plays out, how the system plays out.
Absolutely. Oh, they were lucky to have you.
It was a wonderful privilege.
It is a privilege, and that's what lights me up when I hear you speak. Is you've lived a phenomenal life thus far, and you're not even halfway over. Like you have done an awful lot, and your music, you're just so gifted. So Andrea is a professional songwriter and musician, and we're going to play two clips of her songs, and I will put the YouTube links in the show notes. And if anyone wants to get a hold of Andrea, if you have an idea for some sort of music or a song, or if you'd want her to do a voiceover, reach out to her, because it's breathtaking. You really are quite gifted.
Thank you so much. I will say I want to interject a caveat.
Yes.
That the YouTube channel.
Well, we'll do it. Yeah, go ahead.
The YouTube channel that where my songs are posted and the videos are posted is not my actual channel. I used an upload site to post the videos. So unfortunately, the algorithm decided that it would pick an artist named Andrea Jenkins, which is my name. And so that it picked another person
Okay.
that was not me. So the videos are authentic, the videos are mine, but the page is not my own. I'm
Okay.
in the process of working to create my own YouTube channel. And once I do, I'll make sure that I link you to it,
Sure.
Stephanie,
Okay.
as well.
So for right now, what I have is
Yes.
I have the clips and it's most definitely you. And there's a cute little
Yes.
monkey in the background.
Absolutely. That was from my time in Gibraltar. I was on a I went to my first trip to Spain. I was on a study abroad trip with some fellow cohorts, and we went to Cadiz, which is in the southern part of Spain. And we took a couple of courses that summer, the summer of 2011, and we went to Gibraltar during that
Mm.
time, and it was lovely. And so we got to experience the caves and the monkeys, and yeah, it
Okay.
was
So do
lovely.
you like, are the monkeys docile enough? Can you touch them? I mean, this is
I
quite
never
close
got
to
close
you.
enough. I never got close enough. I mean, maybe they were just hovering around, and because I couldn't see them, I just like
Okay.
stood there, So maybe they were like, "Oh, she's not afraid of us. We'll just hang out,"
Well,
you know.
I think they might have been enthralled by your
So
singing. So
maybe,
okay.
but
So
yeah, for
if you're
sure.
listening to this, then um watch the YouTube videos. And if you want to get a hold of Andrea, email me and I will give you her email address. I won't read your email
Absolutely.
address on
Okay.
air, but I will connect anyone and everyone who wants to be in touch with you because I think you're absolutely
Absolutely.
remarkable.
Thank you.
And you're a longtime crock potter. And anyone who
Yes,
loves their crock
absolutely.
pot.
Oh my goodness. Oh, and I love your recipes. They are amazing.
Oh, I'm
I've
glad.
tried
Well,
these.
you tickled
Yeah.
me when you said that my recipes made you a good cook. And I'm like,
Oh,
no.
yes. Oh my goodness. So good. So good.
Oh, I'm glad.
Delicious.
I'm glad. Well, Andrea, thank you. Thank you so much for spending time with me and for reaching out. And it just,
Absolutely.
I'm thrilled to have just connected with you. And I know your story will resonate with so many because the fact is life can be challenging and it can be tough
Yes.
and
Absolutely.
everyone has some thing and wherever you are, wherever you think like, oh, I can't do this because of that, or I
Yes.
this opportunity is lost and I've missed the boat.
Mhm.
Find a way, find that glimmer
Absolutely.
of hope and find the back door, find a different way to
Right.
make what you want to happen. And you're
Yes.
such an inspiration for that.
Thank you. And can I just add on a final
Yes,
note?
always. Sheldon is
I
whining in the background, so I apologize, everyone. For
Oh.
Sheldon is like, okay, come on, mom, come on.
Oh, so cute, so cute. Oh, I love my puppy. Her name's Ginger. She's so sweet. I
Oh,
call her Ginger
nice.
Pie. She's not a service dog, but she's my sweetheart. She's my baby. I share joint custody with her, with a friend of mine, so we laugh about that.
What
But
type of dog is Ginger?
she is a boxer mix
Oh, those are
of some
adorable.
sort.
Yeah,
We're not exactly
those are
sure, but
sweetie pie dogs.
she came from somewhere, but she's really sweet. But I wanted to add on a final note. When you guys listen to the words of the songs, when you guys listen to the music and think of and meditate on the words, or just enjoy the music, I really believe that my role and my calling is to help people to understand, to see that they have a future, that there's hope, that there's a future out there. I try to love people as Christ loved me, and I try to show people that there is hope, that even if you've been through dark times, I know I've had a lot of loss. I've lost a lot of family members, lost my mom at 23, I lost my
Mm,
dad at 17. So I just wanted to share that, that there is a light out there, and that, if you're going through darkness or dark times, there is a light, and there's also hope for you. And that, if you have a dream, don't let it die. Take it up and think about it, and see how you can work in your life. See what areas of your life you can um, work through to make that dream happen. Whether it's getting your finances in order, or whether it's journaling it, whether it's putting it down on paper, whether it's writing a book or writing a song or getting out your crock pot. I mean, you can do that.
yeah.
You can do
Yeah.
it. And I look at it, I mean, my faith is what's carried me, my relationship with Christ is what's carried me through. But I can say that also there is hope out there, and no darkness is too dark, and there's always a light that shines for you. And so if you can hold on to that light and hold on to that hope, you know, everything will be okay. Everything's going to be okay if you trust that and believe, and just be kind to yourself, because I've had to be kind to myself in a lot of ways. So I just want to challenge everybody out there to really just challenge yourself to rise higher. To, if you think you're dust and ashes, or you think that your life isn't much, every life has value, and every life is a story. And so don't think that your story is too boring. Don't think that your life, if you're out there with, you know, 5 kids and chaos, you know, don't think that it's a small story, because every life is intrinsically valuable and there's a story behind that. So I just wanted to let everybody know that going forward.
Oh, it's so sweet. You're making me cry and choke up, because
Oh.
it's so true. It's so true. Everyone has something. Everyone does. And coming out of the shadows and knowing that you're not alone is so
Absolutely
important. All right, Slow Down Society. Thank you again for being here. Thank you, Andrea. I hope everyone knows that wherever you are, we are holding you closely in our hearts, and you are loved and hugged. And we will see you again. Well, we will hear each other again next week. You take care. We are lucky enough to have some audio clips from Andrea. This is her singing Time in Need.
I found grace, I found strength, helps me in my time of need. I found mercy, whole lot of peace, helps me in my time of need. Oh, I've seen a lot of things and I felt a lot of fear. Oh, but Lord, when I call your name, I realize you never disappear. I've been through too many things, it's been too many years. Oh, but Lord, when I call your name, I know you will hear.
Oh, that is amazing. This is another audio clip that we are so lucky to have. This is Andrea singing Home.
Home, oh, home, always seem to be so far away, over some distant mountain, the other time an older place. And I've been trying all my life to find my place.
Wow, such a phenomenal voice. Thank you, Andrea, for sharing this. And if you want to hear more, all of the audio is linked in the show notes. That is the YouTube page where Andrea's music is showcased. Do you have a slow living story to share? Leave me a voicemail at stephanieodea.com/podcast with any questions, comments, feedback, or testimonials, and I will be sure to include it in an upcoming episode. Also, if you found value in this episode, please share it with your family and friends and subscribe through your favorite podcast provider. The more you share, comment, and leave positive reviews, the more people we can reach and share the slow living lifestyle and messaging. Thank you, Slow Down Society, and have an absolutely wonderful day.